Looks good. Thank you, Tom.
Alrighty. You're welcome, Morane. We're excited to hear your presentation.
Thank you very much, Tom, for the time and the slot here in that SciCodes consortium. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Morane Gruenpeter. I'm on the software heritage team here at the INRIA Research Center in France. And today I will present to you CodeMeta governance strategy that we're working on as part of the FAIR Core for EOSC European project. So this is what you're seeing on the slide here. This is a new European project that started in June 2022, and I'm leading one of the tasks and coordinating the work package that's really interested in implementing the a report done called the SEERS report. And so I won't talk about all of those stuff today. I will just talk about CodeMeta because one of our objectives inside the project is to support CodeMeta and have some work done towards version 3 of the CodeMeta vocabulary. So I will start. I will say to you, next slide, please. Today, I'm going to do a short introduction of CodeMeta because I imagine most of you know CodeMeta, but so we'll have the same information. I will do a few minutes about, not minutes, but seconds about CodeMeta in general. Then I will present the CodeMeta generator for those of you who don't know the CodeMeta generator. A few words about the CodeMeta task force, and at the end, on the last slide, you will see the strategy and the plan that we have for the governance, the future of CodeMeta with the governance proposal. Next slide. So CodeMeta, if you don't know CodeMeta, it's a very interesting initiative started in 2016 or maybe 15 even. I wasn't there at the time. And CodeMeta has this very interesting, it's a subset of schema.org, but it's also a community discussing software metadata. And of course, you have the crosswalk table that maps different vocabularies into CodeMeta. So there's a very big force in this project because using this cross table, we can index and translate metadata from one vocabulary to another. And if you look at this diagram, you can see a bit of what's out there in the metadata landscape. There's a lot of things happening. And so CodeMeta is kind of a Rosetta Stone for us to understand metadata from those different sources. Next slide. As I said, I will present the CodeMeta generator as well. If you haven't heard about it, that's too bad, but it's not. This is the time to hear about it. We have this tool on the CodeMeta website. It is open source tool, so you can also host it and contribute to it. This is a way to write CodeMeta files easily with a form that's online. If you don't want to get it messy with your just editing your text file, you can generate a file from this CodeMeta generator. Next slide, please. In 2020 or 2019, as part of the 4C11 software citation implementation working group, we had what was called the CodeMeta task force. The objectives of this task force was to express all CodeMeta properties using schema.org. We had this protocol with step 1 with some discussion on the task force, and you can see the other steps here. We will take this work from the task force into the European project. This is also part of the objectives that we put in the European project proposal. This task force was led by Martin and myself. And I hope that in the future we will present to you some advancement on this front. Next. We discovered during the work of the task force that we are blocked because of a V3 release. Since during those discussions on the task force, some of the properties seemed outdated or not clearly defined, and we preferred before asking for schema.org to adopt these properties to have them modified by the CodeMeta maintainers. Since we didn't have a governance model to decide if a change should happen or not, it was clear that we needed a kind of a governance policy, a way to have a coherence between the discussions in the issues and the PRs that are submitted, and a voting mechanism. Finally, we discovered, or not discovered, but we agreed upon the fact that we need to choose a governance model and we need resources to support the CodeMeta project. Next slide. So that's kind of a aha moment in this presentation, because you will not understand the slide. This is a slide explaining a little bit the European project. And if you're interested in the FAIRCO for European project, especially the work package I'm representing, which is services and tools to archive, reference, describe, and cite research software, I can do a presentation about that at another point in time. I still wanted to show you why it's related to CodeMeta and to the CodeMeta governance, because one of the tasks, if you see here on this, I can't show you with the mouse, but on the left side of the slide, you have task 6.4, where we have a subtask that is really focalized on the standardization of and metadata, and the CodeMeta is a very big part of it. Also, in this work package, we will create some components to connect different infrastructure into software heritage, but this is not the main focus of this talk. So I will move on to the next slide. If this interests you, we will talk about it in a later point in time, or even in questions later. So in the next slide, it's really the proposal that we have gathered for the CodeMeta maintainers, that you can find also in this HedgeDoc document. It's a Markdown document, an open document for the community. And the plan is to review this document, where we have a policy, a lightweight process to really govern the CodeMeta project. The major change is instead of having maintainers, we're having two bodies: the Project Management Committee, PMC, and a committers group, which will have the authority to commit changes, but not the authority to choose what to do. It's really be a voting mechanisms with voting rights for the full community, with deadlines of those voting processes. This will make it possible to vote over properties that might need to be changed, or other things that can be very tricky when changing a vocabulary. And then you have a few other steps about accepting the proposal, choosing a project management committee, deciding on a committers group, creating a mailing list, then adding the governance policy into the CodeMeta repository, deciding on an asynchronous meeting to vote on current issues, so that we will solve this blocked situation with the V3, update the CodeMeta repository with the roles, then update the website with this information, spread the word about the voting day, and the results from this voting day will be considered to release this, to have change on the V3 release. And finally, but I'm not sure if we will do it. I don't know how we will do it, but I hope we will do it, that it is to organize an online workshop or hackathon to manage this 3.0 release. So this is my last slide. This is a very thorough plan. If you have other questions about CodeMeta, any question about CodeMeta or this plan or the European project, you're welcome to ask. And thank you for your attention.